All right. Tim Scoggins, I'm calling this meeting of the Shaftsbury Select Board to order at 6:30 on Monday, August 18th. First off, does anyone have a conflict of interest with anything appearing on the agenda?
Nope.
Do not.
No?
No.
Next on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have minutes from our meeting last time on 8/4. I have a few corrections of mine. Does anybody else have any? If not, we'll go through these.
Motion to approve minutes of August 4th.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All abstaining?
Yeah, me.
Okay. I move David Kiernan from member to town administrator. Mr. Moffat's first name is Bob and not Jay.
Was Jay Palmer here too? I think he was.
For the water board? This is for the
No,
water.
that's one. Never mind. Okay, no.
I think this is for everything, though.
This is for everything? Okay.
Yeah. Was Jay Palmer here?
I'm pretty sure he would.
Came in late.
Yeah.
Okay. I just inserted that the 6.775 gallons of water per day is an average. See, there was a sentence last week, Vermont Rural Water inspected the old Stanley Tool Complex, which has an unmetered system, wasn't it? An unmetered fire control
Yeah.
system?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
the whole system is not unmetered. Just grammar correction there. It's been 9 days, and David Kiernan hadn't missed a beat in terms of running the town. Bob Moffett, spelling of oversight. Mr. Moffat's first name. Core sampler may need to come drill, I just said drill, and see what's there in the ground. That was just a grammar thing, no big deal. Bill Fisk presents financial information showing that we currently project
And
And-
end of year.
an end of fiscal year surplus of $14,000. That's just a rewording that I thought was a little clearer. Under the Snowmobile Ordinance, follow up last week's meeting's discussion of a snowmobile ordinance on Cider Mill, East Road, Glastonbury Road, Holy Smoke Road, Potter Montgomery Road, Reservoir Road, and Trumbull Road. Those are the roads that the Snowmobile Association is requesting a variance on. Let's see, here we're talking more about the Snowmobile Ordinance. We will warn, do the required notification, and pass on September 1. I changed that to our first meeting in September because we've decided that we're not going to meet on Labor Day. I just said Chris Williams defended the idea of VR2. It kind of implies what the nature of that conversation was a little better. The motion that Mitch made to include VR2 in the town plan, it failed for lack of a second, not due to a vote. Let's see, review of action items. This is just some things I added in. David Kiernan and Tim Sweat will draft snowmobile ordinance and contact Bottesi about the 5-foot encroachment. Tim Scoggins will contact Kevin O'Toole about assigning the Glanovsky property to the McGuires. These are just things that didn't get caught that we decided we did need to do. Oh yeah, there was something about a blocked culvert in Shaftsbury Hollow.
Yeah. Just
Okay.
a little.
Yeah, let's talk about that, but I just wanted to make sure it got included here. And Jim McGinnis will review and send a VLC presentation on delinquencies to the Select Board, along with a draft delinquency policy for the Select Board. We went into executive session to discuss the job evaluation for the road foreman, and then we exited at 9:08. Any more additions or corrections to the minutes? All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All abstaining? Ken abstaining. Okay. Jen, thank you for those minutes. That was very detailed, and you captured what went on very well. Good to have a recording secretary again. Approval of warrants. I have check warrant 3A in the amount of $2,334.06. This is to Kevin O'Toole for conducting our tax sale that we recently held. I move we approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All abstain? You're an aye?
Yep.
Okay.
I need to borrow your pen. Mine is dead.
I have a General Journals warrant. This is for the period of, well, it says 2015. I don't know what that means actually. But, it's for the dated 7/03/14. Dave, you want to explain? This was a mistake that was being corrected?
When the payroll went in, they had a new payroll person at our processor. There were just some errors that had to be adjusted, basically, to correct some people's payroll. Some people didn't get their raise that began at the beginning of the fiscal year. It was just to correct some errors. And again, that's really, they have a new person who took over our account up there, and there's just some lack of knowledge on what to do with it.
Mm-hmm. All right, I move we approve General Journals warrant numbered 2015-0004 in the amount of $321.45. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I have a retirement warrant, PR4, in the amount of $78.74. I move we approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
$78.74. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next is payroll warrant, PR4, in the amount of $18,336.47. I move we approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the payroll warrant? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, and lastly, check warrant number 4 in the amount of $66,158.25. I move we approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Major items on this are 4722 to Blue Cross Blue Shield, 1262 to Bennington Sheriff, 1611 and 1208 to William E. Daly, 1106 to John Ray and Sons, 2484 to Mountain Air Assessors, and the big one is $38,203 to Sun Trust Equipment Financing. That is an annual installment payment on the grader. And 6667 to TAM. Any discussion? All in favor of approving check warrant number 4, say aye.
Aye.
Does anyone have any announcements?
Yeah, I do. More of a comment than an announcement, but at the last few select board meetings, I heard members of the board express praise for the planning commission concerning the town plan. I also heard them say they were not planners, and I agree with both statements 110%. So I find it a bit disingenuous that the select board has removed a portion from the town plan, an option to increase housing density around the village center and created by the VR2 district. Planning is what planning commissions do. Planning to increase density in the village center, by all means, a standard for smart growth planning, would seem like a good thing to have in the town plan. This would cause no changes to current property owners in the proposed VR2 district, but will give them options for future subdivisions smaller than 1 acre, currently allowed in the RR40 district. It is just a plan, and bylaws would need to be developed concerning the new district, which would then be voted on by the taxpayers of Shaftsbury. For the select board to remove a portion of the town plan that had been worked on for almost 5 years makes me wonder what the purpose of the planning commission is. I tried to make these arguments at the last select board meeting, but to no avail. With all this said, I support the town plan 110% as revised, but would like to remind the select board that the town of Shaftsbury has a planning commission for a reason. I'd also like to remind the public that the planning commission's meetings are held the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, and input is always welcome. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Does anyone care to speak to Mitch about that? All right, we discussed this at length before. I guess I would just say that, again, we mean no disrespect to the Planning Commission, but it is the case that the plan is adopted by the Select Board, and this is the course that the Select Board felt was appropriate to take. And we know that you disagree. Mr. Holmes.
That was for me.
Oh.
Yes.
I just, I mean, I understand it, but we sat here and praised them, said we weren't planners, but then we decided to take something out of the plan that if you go to these BCRC meetings on smart growth planning and all that stuff, it states that. And we're not talking next year, 5 years. We're talking 10, 15 years down the road probably. But
Okay.
we discussed it all before.
Okay. Any other announcements? I have one from Joe Vatican, the fire chief, and if you'll allow me, I'll just read it. He says, I wanted to let you know and pass on to the select board that Charlie Becker will be on a segment of WCAX TV in Burlington called Super Seniors this Thursday night on the Nightly News. Charlie has been a member of my department since 1948, 66 years, and at 90 years old is still very active. In fact, he did a stunt for the cameras, which included him riding his bike while sitting on the handlebars backwards. I won't let him do that during fire functions. My nerves can't take it. So, yes, that's very good to hear, and we'll all look forward to seeing Charlie Becker on TV this coming Thursday night. I feel like I had something
The
else.
select board meeting changed from the 1st of September to the 8th.
That's right, thank you. Yes, there it is on my agenda. We are moving, we're not going to meet on Labor Day, September 1st, we're moving our Select Board meeting to the following Monday, September 8th. Public comments.
Yes, I've got a few.
Mr. Moffett.
I went and printed out Basic Law Basics, which has a lot of good information in here that I felt that you people ought to take a look at, because instead of doing something, being on TV and you look foolish, you have got a chance to read through it and find out what you can and can't do. So there's that.
Okay.
And then in the website, you go on there about farm structures, about the exemption, and there's a document in there that you put all the information about the farm structure down, and then you sign it, and then it goes to the action taken. It's either approved, denied, or referred to the DRB. Well, going to the statute of 24, Chapter 117, paragraph 4413, on the second page, number 2, no municipal permit for a farm structure shall be required. And yet, you got a permit.
I think you have to have approval for setbacks. You cannot override setbacks.
Yeah, if you go with the Secretary of Agriculture for the approved setbacks.
Okay.
Approved setbacks from Secretary of Agriculture, Food and Markets. So if you meet those requirements. And then on zoning bylaws, on page 6, 3.1.8, it goes down through and it has the same thing that's in the statute. Then it comes to the last 2 sentences. A person shall notify the zoning administrator of the intent to build a farm structure at, and it has at least 30 days prior to commencement of construction. Well, that's not in the statute. It goes on to say, no permit for a farm structure shall be required. Yet we have this document on the website. What do you do, just ignore it?
There are a number of issues with this, Bob, and I try not to answer questions like that have to do with law off the top of my head. I'll be glad to sit down and go through that with you. It's come up with other things, and you and I have talked about other things. So anytime you want to come in, give me a day to pull up the stuff. There are things about why the town can ask if you're putting up a farm structure. There are reasons, and even there's a requirement that, you know, some people would claim to be a farm. They don't have enough chickens to qualify for a farm. It's really meant for things like that. But I can get you some background on that, and we can discuss it, you know.
Because when I talked to Brian Levine about it,
I'm sorry, Brian Levine?
Deputy Secretary of State.
Oh, okay, yeah. See, the ag people too will tell you that to qualify for a farm, you have to have a certain number of this type of animal or that type of animal or something. You actually have to be able to demonstrate you're a farming operation. Otherwise, people would just be throwing up barns and saying, you know, I'm a farm. But there's a number of things we can go through, and I'll sit down anytime you want and we can go through that. The form itself, I can't see that far, but the form itself, that's just part of a general form, right?
Well, it's got down there where it's got to be approved by DRB or
Yeah.
whoever.
Yeah, see, but the operative words up here is, this is the exempt farm structure statement. This is your declaration that you're exempt under the law.
Right.
I don't believe it's improper for us to say, to require that. But I'll check on that, we can look through that.
Yeah, because I was, that intent that
Yeah.
I gave Tyler, you have in the
Yeah,
file.
yeah.
I talked to the state county forester
Mm-hmm.
about putting something up for a shed up there.
Yeah, that was the shed you wanted up there, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And he contacted the state, and they said, just as long as you don't have a bed in it,
Yeah.
you're all set.
Yeah, I think we talked about that a little while ago. But this might be going more towards zoning than the select board. So, yeah, you know,
Okay,
why don't you give me a day, give me a call, we'll sit down, we'll go through this.
okay. Do it on a rainy day?
Rainy days are good.
Okay, if on dry days, I'm in the woods tight.
Thank you, David.
Okay.
Any other public comments? Bob, I believe you wanted to talk to us about the town plan, town report.
My annual, can I get a share?
Yes, please.
My annual sit-down with the select board, and I don't know.
Just pull right, it's right off the state website.
Yeah, we're on the board last year.
Pull it off.
I think we had a brief conversation about the printing of the.
Deadlines and printing.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, well, that's what I'm here for.
Okay.
And just to give you people a little bit of background on what we do. If you look at excuse me, I don't mean to be presumptuous or anything, but if you look at the Auditor's Handbook from VLCT, the auditors, thank you. The auditors are an autonomous body. And the book says that the auditors, as an autonomous body, do not have to come to the select board for any advice or guidance. I've been chairman of the auditing committee for, I think, 4 or 5 years now, and I don't believe in that. I have come before the select board each year to let you know what we're doing, and if you don't like it, if you have any suggestions that we can improve what we're doing, that's the way I think it should be, regardless of what the state says. So, that having been said, each year, excuse me, sorry, Mitch. Each year we go through a process which we're approaching now. You can see the date on this letter, which would normally be on a letterhead going out to the not-for-profit agencies. And I send it out October 1st so that they have these. Now, the not-for-profits are the ones that are asking us to be on the ballot for an appropriation. Mm-hmm. And the deadline has always been set for December 1st. So it gives 2 months, which should be ample time for anyone to get a half-page report or a full-page report of their the past year's activities and so on, to warrant the request that they're making. Doesn't always happen with a lot of them. I send out the second page is a model page of margins, et cetera, which they should follow. The third page is the standard form that we've used every year for requesting an appropriation. And that has to be sent out. Now, it has a December 1st deadline also. And you need that time, because they'll come in to Dave and they'll be accumulated, and that's in preparation of the budget. They have to all be in there and to go for that. If you look at the letter, that's exactly as it appears, with the highlights in red, asking them to send the information, send their report to me. I'm going to revise that a little bit and make it a little bit more specific this year. I want, and of course the dates will be changed to reflect this year instead of last year. Yeah, at the bottom, that needs to be reworded a little bit, but I ask your approval on stating that if their material is not received, then they will not be on the ballot, and I'm going to include that their report, which is publicity for their organization, that their report will not be in the book. Mm-hmm. We get to a point where we're bringing all this stuff in, and it all has to be edited and reformatted, et cetera, ready to go to the printer. And that all needs to be done. Likewise, the last page is to the town departments, which are all listed. These are the organizations or groups that this memo, this one's a memo, that this goes to. And I'd like whatever comments or suggestions, encouragement that you can give me, because some of these people are late too. And my attitude is, if you're going to volunteer, we'd really like your cooperation in helping the auditors get this stuff together in order to produce the book. That's that part. Now, the big question.
Can we talk about this first?
Sure.
In my mind, there's a difference between the people that are asking us money and the
people who
largely
aren't.
volunteers, but not entirely department heads who
Yeah.
have reports to make. If people who want to be on the ballot to receive charity dollars don't give the required paperwork, I'm inclined to say you don't get to be on the ballot and you don't get your report in the town plan.
Okay.
As far as town officers and town committees, they need to do their job and they need to get in there. I don't think the right answer there is to say we don't include the animal control officer report if we don't get a report from them. We need to get a report from the animal
Yep.
control officer. So,
Now, there were two groups that their reports didn't get in because I never did get reports from them last year.
okay.
I'd rather not indicate who they are.
Yeah,
But
I'd like to know who that is.
Yeah.
So we make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think maybe we should think about well,
Some carrot for them?
well, a carrot or a stick, yeah, I'm not sure which is appropriate here. If we set a hard deadline of December 1 and they don't turn it in, and we
Why
don't
don't say-
have a report to go in the town plan, that's to the detriment of the entire town, so.
The attitude that's been expressed is that, well, it's December 1st. The town meeting's not until March. Why do we have to, well,
It's because we
you have to
don't,
realize that there's a lot more to the book than
Sure.
your one report. And this is the stuff that we can get a heads up on, get a jump on it, to get it done so that when the select board, for example, we will have to we'll do it together, set deadlines for when all of your material has to be in, the treasurer's report. And so a lot of these things can't be done until 0 hour. And a lot of it is dictated by the printer. How long, what kind of lead time he needs, he, she, it needs to get the book back to us in order to mail it according to the state rules. It has to be in the hands of the public at least 10 days before town meeting. So we're guided by that, and we have to back off from that for the select board materials and so on. So that's that part of it. Any other questions on that? Yeah.
Take, for example, the rescue squad that wants money. Do they have to send in a report plus an application for money?
Absolutely.
Okay, and so
Absolutely. Yeah.
if you get one and not the other,
Forget it.
okay, they gotta have both. Just
Got to have both.
So I have-
And I think it's pretty well spelled
No,
out here.
that's fine, I
Yeah.
just want to make sure.
That they have to have
Good.
both.
I mean, maybe we should ask for the departments to have a draft to the select board or something by October, or by November 15th or something, for second meeting in November, to see if we can get, a draft, and then if they don't update the draft, you get the draft. I don't know, I mean, there's gotta be a way to prod them a little bit more.
yeah, well, I was thinking, if a week, 2 weeks before the deadline, I assume you don't get them all on December 1st.
No.
You get some ahead of that.
I have a note here that reminders by mail, well, we have done reminders by mail, did not do them last year. It cost us money. All right? But I did give reminders by phone.
Okay.
So I have the list, all right? This is for not-for-profits. I can only show you briefly. These are and this list is updated as soon as anyone notifies me that there's a change or in any other way that I can find out. In calling to give reminders, I find out, oh, well, you don't want to talk to me. You didn't tell us, so that's why I'm talking to you. And find out the person who I should be talking to. I'll try to make that even more clear in the letter to them this year.
Yeah, well, again, the non-profits, I'm not inclined to bend over backwards for them. Either if they want the money, they'll do the paperwork. That's the way of the world. But as far as our town offices,
Yeah.
I would say if a week ahead of time you don't have them, contact David and I, and we will go after them and tell them we got to have that
Great.
in a week.
Great.
Well,
Great,
by the second select board meeting in November, just so we don't,
Why can't you set up reminders for town people, they can start talking at the beginning of November?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would just program it in, that's Wednesday, the first Wednesday of November, don't forget, second Wednesday, it's gonna post.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. And we probably got email on all these people.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, well,
I'm
most
sure
of
a lot
them, I have the emails.
So if we give them an
maybe
email
not the
reminder
town.
at the 1st of November, and if by a week before December 1 we don't have it, then we get on the phone to them and say, we need this in the next couple of days.
Well, that's Thanksgiving week too, so I mean, I think we can back it up 2 weeks even.
That's a good point. Yeah, let's make it 2 weeks.
I have a lot of the emails in my list here for these are the town people. Big question. Bennington sends out a postcard. They produce, I don't know how many, I don't know what the number is, but a moderate number of town reports on newsprint. Cheap as you can go. They feel that satisfies the state guidelines. I don't agree. A lot of the towns are doing the same thing because it's expensive. The printing of the town report costs in the neighborhood of $5,000. That's based on last year was, I think, was 120 pages. All right, and they're in 4-page signatures for the printer. It costs just a hair under $5,000, and it costs just a little under $800 for mailing of the book. Manchester does the book. Wynn Hall does the book the way we do, the way we have done it. Each year, I've presented the same alternative to the select board. You know, we can do it the way some of the towns do. If you want one, you know, the postcard says, if you want one, come into town hall and pick one up. In that case, you never know how many there might be. The select board has always gone so far with the printed book. I've been an auditor, I think, 9 years, and they've always said, no, we like the book. It's attractive. I've encouraged people with letters to the editor and so on in the past to have it as a coffee table kind of thing. There's so much information in it that's valuable information. Some of the social organizations, there's a wealth of benefit in having those phone numbers handy. And the first 7 pages of the book are your phone numbers, my phone number. Everybody who has anything to do with the town, their phone number is in there. If you have a gripe, if you want to contact somebody, look in the town report. It's right there. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. A lot of the books, when we mail them, we wind up going over to the post office and collecting the ones that are left on the tables there so that we can have a supply of them at town meeting, and Judy has them in the town office so that, real estate people come in and they'd like a copy, so we have them. But we need to have printed 1,850 copies if we print it. So I'm asking you, we have the budget to print it. It's in the budget. What's your pleasure?
Can I get a clarification? If in Bennington, they send out a postcard and you go to the town clerk's office and do you get a book or do you just get a newspaper?
Well, it's in the form of a newspaper.
It's in the form
Yeah.
of a newspaper.
Yeah, I say it's
So
newsprint.
it's not bound?
No.
It's not bound like our book is? Okay.
Not-
I just wanted to know.
Art, to be honest with you, I have not seen it. So
Okay.
I don't know whether it's stapled together or not,
Okay.
like a book, but it's newsprint. And I keep busting Tim Corcoran's chops about it because about being cheap, and I think they ought to do better than
And
I
you may
shouldn't
have-
be saying that now.
You may have said, but I think my mind wandered, the cost per book must be $2 to $3 to print?
Yes, it's, I forget what it was. I think I figured last year it was $2.17 or something like that.
And then the postage is,
That's on the bulk permit.
that's just the
So,
postage?
yeah.
Oh, and the printing cost, though?
The printing cost was just under $5,000 last year.
Okay. So 5,000 to print plus this postage?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
If you
So on
want,
the order of 10,000 then to send them out?
Pardon?
5,800. 5,000 to print and $800 to mail.
800? How much did you?
1,850 copies
Mhm.
was just under $5,000.
To
print. That's
Okay,
to
so
print.
$2 to $3 per, right?
217.
Okay, and then the mailing, which is our bulk permit, runs, let's say, $800.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
if you didn't print the books.
Yeah.
And you just went to the postcard.
Yeah.
How many would you print? Copies would you make that way?
That would be trial and error. The first year we did it that way, Ken, it would be trial and error.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a feeling from like Bennington or any other towns,
What percent?
if they
Not really.
do the same money or same amount, or would you, I bet you wouldn't have as many. Because people
No, they
wouldn't pick
probably-
them
no,
up.
because a lot of people would not pick them up. True.
I personally like them. I mean, like you said, numbers, phone numbers, read about
Yeah.
the town.
We've,
They're good reference.
Shaftsbury has had a history of producing the book. I mean, Judy's got copies from,
Up there, every one of them,
there's not a year missed, I don't think.
yeah.
So,
I'd make a motion that we continue printing the town plan and mailing it out.
I'll second that motion, although I'm not convinced yet. So we have a motion seconded to continue printing the town plan. Discussion.
Another town where I pay taxes, I get a town plan from them too. I don't know. I mean, would I be able to go up to their post office, their town clerk, and get a copy? I'm sure I could if I could get up there during the 3 days or 5 days they're open, you know. And they're not open on weekends and so forth, so it's tough. I think it's a good reference, and like you said, it keeps you up to date on all the nonprofits and all the other companies in town. You get a nice little report. It's a good read.
You mean town report, you said town plan.
The town report,
and
yes.
report.
Is there any savings if you don't do color and that sort of stuff? It's got
Incidental.
that's okay, that's what I mean.
Incidental. Now, what we've done with color, because the select board wanted a color cover, used to be just whatever color the cardstock was for the cover and black.
But it's not a big, huge thing.
We do the front cover. The back cover is the postal indicia. And we do the inside, we do the front and the back, because the cost is the same.
Sure, okay then.
The printer we've been using, who has been not necessarily the lowest, but it's been so close, that because of the experience we've had with them, we've gone with them. And if you remember last year, that was a point that was made. We do have a local resident who who wants to be considered and thinks he should be. We don't know his work. The last work that he did was an abomination. Literally, I mean, I could show you the book. The printer that we've been using has done, I think, a fantastic job. If you look at any of the last 5 or 6 town reports, I think they're a credit to the town.
Yes. Okay.
So,
I know I've heard previous selectmen talk about this. It kind of comes up every year, you know, should we continue to spend $5,000, $5,800 every year to send this to everybody? And it's been felt by the selectmen that it does have value, that it does put the information, you know, in people's houses, whether, you know, where, and may get read where it might not be read otherwise. My thought is, in this day and age, I know there are some people like myself who would probably read it more if I had it on my computer than where I have it, which is in my mail pile underneath a year's
that's-
mail at this point.
that's what Bennington appeals to people to do, is to, you know,
to
to
get it
go
off the
online.
web, yeah.
But not everybody has a computer, and I think because of the overwhelming older age population, that a lot of those people don't have.
Right.
And they are probably the ones who read it.
Yeah.
because they
How
have
much work would it be to allow people to opt out and opt for it, to have it, to download it off the web instead of having it mailed to them?
On the part of the auditors.
Yes.
Oof.
And
I don't know if
So-
I'd want to get involved in that.
So if we, you know, said, you know, if you sign up, you know, on the web to get it digitally, you know, we'll give you, you know, a $3 tax credit or something like that. And then we gave you a list of people that don't need it, that would cause extra work?
First of all, Shaftsbury Post Office, Route 21, which is 21 and 22, are saturation mail. Okay, so to pull those out, in other words, saturation mail means that we do not put labels.
I see.
They are addressed to postal patron,
Mm-hmm,
so that would be impossible to do.
I see.
If we put labels on them, then the price would go up.
And I'm willing to bet that if you only printed half, the price would not be half, because the cost is in the setup and not in the actual printing.
Great deal.
So you wouldn't really say, even, let's say we cut it right in half, you would not cut
It would not cut
our
it
budget
in
in
half.
half. You probably only cut it by,
3,500,
yeah, or 3,500, 4,000, so
Yeah.
it's the setup that costs.
Okay.
I'm not sure, when you send something to the printer, Art, for your business, the printer does a different job than we do, okay? What we do, what I do, basically, because I hate to say it, it sounds like I'm criticizing, but I'm not. The other 2 auditors work very hard with me and do anything they're asked to do. But I do the town report, basically, and we proofread it together. But I do all the computer work, and I hand the printer 120 pages, camera ready. If there's a mistake in it, it's mine.
Okay.
So there really is no setup in that way. But there's setup as far as, what do they call it? Formatting. Formatting the book. I give them pages 1 through 120. And they have to put it through their software and the printing process and so on, to have a finished book come out the end of the machine.
Do you give them the 100, you don't give them just a Word document or a PDF or anything? You give them nope, you just give them the 120 pages printed off? And
I'll tell you what, Mitch, I'll give you that, and you can do it, and give me a disc, because I don't have that knowledge. They ask me every time, well, you know, you're going to give it to us on disc? What, are you crazy? You put it through your scanner, and you make your disc, and then you put it in that machine.
Oh, we might be able to help you out there.
No,
What
it
software do
wouldn't
you-
affect the cost.
But it's the same thing.
No, they're taking my 120 pages and feeding it into the reader, and it's reading it perfectly. So,
Putting out a PDF.
yeah.
All right. Any more discussion on the question of, shall we continue to print and mail to everyone in town the town report? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain? All right.
Okay.
Same as it ever was.
Print the book. We'll go with the 1,850, which is normal. The mailing, the deadline for December 1st. Okay? Budget-wise, I mean, as far as your preparation of the budget, do you think that sounds reasonable? Because you're the one that has to,
Yeah.
Be in the middle of the meetings at that juncture.
yeah.
Well, actually, the regular budget meetings, workshop hearings are in December, on the 8th, 15th. Continue into December for the actual budget, putting together the budget for the next.
Yeah.
So, we'll be ready for printing.
Yeah, this is fairly, it's fairly simple putting them together. Would it be easier for you if they mailed the report and the request to me?
To you.
No, they should have those all to us by December 1st. No, I agree with that, the people who are asking for donations.
No, but I mean, when they send it back, if, it might simplify it for them to send both documents to me.
To you, yeah, that'll be fine.
If you want, we can try that and see if that makes any impression, since they're sending them to the same person, because sometimes they think that if they send the dollar request in, oh, that's good, that's the one that's important. Well, that's not so. It's not the one that's,
Package, they need both.
but if they're sending them both to me, they're less likely to send the dollar request without the report. So
Yeah.
I don't know
That
whether
way
it's
we
worth
can-
trying or not.
We can work out the details.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'll stay on the town departments too, to make sure that we get those all in by December 1st.
Yeah.
We can coordinate on this too, and just make sure that.
Yeah, are we allowed to talk about Margie? I mean, I'm not gonna hurt your feelings.
No?
Okay. Margie always wanted to keep control over the financial requests. But if it would be easier, and it may have implications as to how well we collect them.
I would be fine with you coordinating it. These are
Okay.
requests that go to the voters.
Oh, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not like something I'm gonna approve in the budget, so.
No, it's
If it coordinates better, and we get it done in a smoother fashion,
okay,
I'd be all for it.
all right.
Then we can get it in.
Give
Yeah,
it
I
a
think
try.
it makes sense to ask them to send
Both of them.
both of them to you.
All right, we'll give that a shot. See how it works. And then we'll sit down together, or maybe just with you, Dave, to set up deadlines for the select board chairman's report, et cetera. We'll have a list of what we need, and go from there. And as far as the auditing committee is concerned, anytime you have any questions, my name is in the town report, of course. If, I know I've talked to Mitch about a few things when he's called me. The auditors are happy to sit down with the select board at any time, and criticism, compliments, or whatever. So, okay?
Good.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much
what
for your
might be,
time.
what might be useful is to, come in and just explain the auditing process to us all so that we understand the checks and balances that are in place. I've had them explained to me by the treasurer, but probably the whole board could benefit from a little
We've just
tutorial on
finished.
that.
We've just finished last year's invoices. They they get done. Now, there's two ways. Some towns do them as you go along during the year. We've historically waited until the end of the fiscal year. We are checking. Now, keep in mind that the elected auditors in the town are not expected to be accountants. My teaching background was accounting, bookkeeping, if you will. So, I have a little bit better understanding of the process. I'm learning an
If I
awful...
could interrupt, I wasn't suggesting that you give us that tutorial now. I was going to
Okay.
ask that we schedule that and
Yep,
have that, and go
Glad
through
to.
that for all of our edification at some point.
glad to
Thank
do
you.
that. Yep. What? The what? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't give you one. I did make a note. How about you, Jen? Do you? Pardon? Yeah. That's a good thing Tony's not here.
All right, thank you, Bob.
Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Any other public comments? Road foreman report. Our road foreman had a personal thing he wanted to do tonight, so he's not here, but Dave and Art can probably fill us in on the ongoing excitement on White Creek Road.
Okay, I can start, if it's all right, Art. The final coat is going on White Creek Road tomorrow, so the paving will be completed, and we're very good on the budget for that. It looks like it should be fine unless they run into some huge complication tomorrow, which I wouldn't expect. The Brownell, the depression in the roadway. We did have QCQA do core samples on Friday. The report will be here shortly. We don't have an exact date on that. What they did was they went down 26 feet before they hit ledge, between 12 feet to 17 feet, it was all this goo, whatever you want to call it, this stuff that's causing the problem. They took out, as they drill, they take out samples, which they'll analyze, and then they'll report back to us. And I think that's the big key to solving this issue. We had talked about doing core samples in different places, and Terry brought up, which was a good idea, that if we do these samples in the roadway, we might have this stuff erupt. As you drive by now, if you look over on the shoulder, you'll see a pile that actually pushed up from where they did the samples. It was actually just kept coming up because it was like a pressure relief for it.
Gusher.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what the company brings back and says.
So they only drilled one hole?
I believe they drilled a couple. They moved it a couple times. They were there for 6.5 hours.
So is it a 6-inch core, 4-inch core?
I don't have the core dimensions they were drilling.
So what's coming up, just ooze, or
It's
is
this
it the water?
ooze, it's this gray clay, very
Like a
liquid.
slurry.
Yeah, it's very strange looking stuff, and where it's coming from, we can't really determine yet. I think when they get samples of what it actually is, it'll give a much better idea to people on how to proceed here.
It looks like wet cement,
Yeah, it does.
except it doesn't
Yeah.
dry out. It's
It's much
ooze.
more liquid, and you can drop a rock from the side when it was coming out underneath last week. You could toss a rock onto it, and it just kind of like,
It's like pudding. I went down there.
yeah, it's very unusual material coming out of the road. But in talking with people in the area too, it's been going on for years and years and years and years and years.
Confusion underneath there.
But now we have this depression that's developed there, and it's developed across that one lane, as you all know. I was there at about 5:20 this afternoon. It's still fine, but we need to find a solution. There's been some proposals to do some pile driving and put either concrete sheeting or metal sheeting up and back that up with weight. But that would just be like a dam, building a dam across. A company...
building a dam
Yeah, I mean, it
12
would go down to
16
ledge.
feet underground where the ooze is flowing.
Yeah, it would have to go down to the 26 feet where they hit ledge. They'd have to build this thing across there. I think we were surmising maybe 21 feet long. However, we still need someone to analyze that and say whether this is even a good idea. Renaud, a local builder, for bridges and things is coming tomorrow. They're gonna stop and just do an estimate to give us a ballpark of what this would cost if we went that way.
A bridge?
No, the
He's a bridge builder,
he's a bridge builder, but
abutment. So
but
Yeah.
but he knows about pylons.
pylons, and we'll put those in the backing, and we'll get some general idea of the cost, because that's a big thing to start with, too.
would you put that on the downside of the road or upside of the road?
It would be to the south where the brook is,
Okay.
because the depression runs that way and it comes off. And in speaking with Terry today, one of the issues that we have to deal with is it needs a release somewhere. You can't just keep, at some point, if it's liquid, it's pressure, it's gonna come out somewhere else, whether it erupts up or out the sides, and this road collapses over here, it's hard to say. So we'll get a general idea of a construction cost here. I have a message into Rob Fairley with AOT, the local engineers want to get other eyes on this. When it was originally asked whether we could get funding from the state, the emergency funding has to be over $49,000 for us.
That won't take long.
Well, no, I think, the more you look at this and the more eyes go on it, I think we might hit that, which is a good thing we're having the company come and give us an estimate tomorrow, because that, to me, sounds like the minimum fix, and I have a feeling that's gonna be quite expensive. For 21 feet, I would imagine we're gonna have at least 8 things that would have to be knocked down.
Well, yeah, but that goes a lot farther than that, Dave.
Oh, no, I know.
Where you are there, if you go to the east, that's been bothering since the 70s,
Yeah,
that whole area.
yeah,
And what you might want to check on, because I worked on one job at Vermont Yankee when I was doing heavy construction. Check with the engineers on a well point system to lower the water level on the whole area. They just drive well points in the ground with cranes, and you have two wires. One is on the weight, and then the other one you drop it like that, like a pile driver. And it drives it right down in, and it'll lower the water table in the whole area.
well, and those are the things that we're expanding on now,
Right.
from a quick fix, and this has come up periodically, even in this year's annual report, that was talking about a quick fix that was done over there a couple of years ago. We need to get, like I said, more eyes on this. We have a general idea now, we're getting the AOT involved, and we'll get the resources we need, because we shouldn't just spend more money hoping we've solved something when we're just pushing it further down the line.
If you get the water out of that clay, then instead
Yeah.
of being liquid, it's like that table.
Oh, I agree with that. It's just a question of how to do
Yeah,
that
how to do it.
properly. And have someone stake out or lay out how to do it.
Right.
Find out how much that is gonna cost.
Right.
And find out how we're gonna get the money to pay for it.
Do we know the lateral extent of
No, we do
this?
not.
The Corps guy just drilled a couple of holes?
Well,
or-
I don't have the full report. I didn't get, from where he was, he would have had to do an angle. They were there for 6.5 hours. I don't have all the details of it yet. But it could be that we're gonna have to close the road and really start digging around, depending on what comes back from this.
The original project was 154 feet, right? Wasn't that the piece that way you bid it on after the road?
Roughly, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
154 feet.
Yeah. But the problem
Yeah,
is,
you
as it
make
goes up and down here, they have the old, like, boilers in the road just,
That boilerplate,
yeah, just south of there, and if we're just pushing the water down, I mean, it really has to be addressed to how to remove the water, like you're saying,
Yeah.
from the complete area, because if we just dam it, it's just gonna move this way
well,
or
that
that
whole
way.
area is 400 or 500 feet long.
Yeah.
Because when my dad was road commissioner in the 70s,
That's right.
that whole area,
And a couple of the residents came out when I was there with Terry and Mr. Blanchard from Vermont Roads, and they were saying how it's been this way, and it's certainly not a new problem.
no.
I think we can maintain the status quo over there until we get a firm, responsible way of
Unless the
moving
whole thing
forward.
decides to go some night.
Well, that's hopefully also what the core, if he's doing the core samples and it comes up that this is really all completely unstable material,
Yeah.
then we have a real issue, which is really why I'm looking to get it evaluated correctly, because that's where we would have the biggest problem. If this thing develops into a sinkhole, and I'm not sure if damming it doesn't start, I don't know enough about hydrology to say that damming it isn't gonna start that sinkhole from happening, because the water's gonna look for somewhere to go. So you need the right, like I said, the right eyes on this to give you the
Well,
right
that
answer.
clay with the water in it lubricates it. It just
Yeah,
wants to slide.
watching it come out was pretty amazing. When they did the boring hole, it was just coming up.
Hit a little artesian, and it started bubbling out, huh?
Yeah, you can see the mound on the side of the road. It just
Like
kept
drilling a
coming out.
wall. Here it comes.
Here it
You
comes.
just give it away out.
Dave, that road is kind of unique in that it is Shaftsbury's town road, but it also is a connector to another
Yes.
state. Does that give us a little bit more leverage with the state for looking for money other than the usual, if it's emergency, hits $50,000, then we may come and help type of thing?
Yeah, well, I was reading the requests that have gone on, and I didn't see that come up, although it's clearly a connector road, and I
Yes.
don't know why we can't get a little more funding to keep open a necessary road.
Absolutely.
Even for so many reasons between there, White Creek and here. And I'm gonna start that, right away, because
Yeah.
I think, there isn't a simple, well, if we do this, that, it'll be done. I think, from hearing everybody, yourself and other people who have been around a long time, this is not going away, and there isn't a fix, and we might as well look at it correctly this time.
I think we ought to go really look into the connector road thing.
Yeah.
Maybe some money there.
I was surprised that originally when this first came up, and they said it didn't hit the emergency level, I was surprised that we didn't get some impact because it's a connector road.
That's right.
It's a bi-state connector.
Yep.
We've got a ton of money from Federal Highway for Kelly Stand because it's a federal connector road.
Yep, okay.
It seems like we should be able to get something for this.
So, I mean, would it be possible to let the water out in like a pond on the, I guess that would be the east side of the road, and the culvert under the road to so let the stuff come out and go under the road that way?
There was the big iron culvert that's there was there before Irene, and it was apparently ejected during Irene. But in talking to people who've been around, this has been going on for years, so
There's still one in there.
there's still one in there, yeah, so it's really
Those were put in to hold the,
to hold the bank
put
back,
the brook through the culvert
Yeah.
and hold the road.
yeah. And now, I mean, there's another simple thing that Terry and I suggested, because you can put this thing in, it links back in. It actually, the one that was ejected, you can lock it back in. But then we don't know what we're doing. You could put that in, put it back to the way it was, and again, you're creating the pressure under the road, and then where's it gonna go? You really just need, and maybe there isn't an answer. Some people say there isn't an
There's
answer.
always, always an answer.
But, yeah, my feeling is, if we have to go, once we get some estimates and once we get some ideas, if we go get the engineer, what do you think we should do here?
When they have that meeting, I'd like to be there.
Yeah, we'll start setting things up and start talking to people. The big thing we have going, the most important thing is core sampling. And if an engineer thinks more, then we'll have to go out and do more, and we'll have to watch to see if it piles up in the road and clear it as it piles up.
But I would suggest that you keep a very close eye on that, because if you start getting cracks up there,
Oh,
you
no.
might see 20 feet of that road go away some night.
Oh, I know. It's very packed in right now, which is what made it surprising when it dipped last week.
Yeah.
But you could go there and on all the rocks, on the cement blocks that were put down under the riverbed, it was coming up on the other side of all the blocks. It had just worked itself down, it was coming up in the riverbed.
Oh, coming up underneath the block?
Yeah, yeah.
So you put those right down, the big square.
cement blocks.
blocks right at the bottom of that base,
Yep.
that big bank.
And then lots of stone, lots of pressure against the bank, and it's still sunk. And we're on our second load, and I forget how many yards it was, of pavement to fill that thing in. That's a lot of pavement to lose, to have sink in, so,
Yeah, but
And
that's
we've
it.
already gone through one round of quick fix there with the French drains and all that we put on there.
yeah.
That was, so,
And it's ongoing, so
I think we're
it's
past the quick fix part.
Yeah, I
We're
think it's
into
time
What's
to-
the real answer here?
to get AOT, and if their engineers can't provide the answer, then, well, we'll take leads from them as the road experts in the state, and, we'll see where it leads us. Hopefully to funding too, because I don't think it's,
Oh, you should.
I don't think
Bottom of
it's
that
a small amount of money.
Coming off the mountain right there.
Well, the way it's sounding, and Ken, I think just said, we could get to a $50,000 problem pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
And then
You got that already.
that triggers the emergency state aid, because it's 10% of our highway budget, so.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where we're headed to.
Yeah, okay.
But at least, well, at the end of it, it'll be fixed to the best of anybody's ability to.
Yeah, maybe. I
And
mean,
well, that's why I say ability to,
it might be one of those things where, it's just, something you keep working on.
Yeah.
If it's been happening since the 70s,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we may have to revisit it every 10 years.
Yeah, and one of the residents came out and was telling me when he was a kid, there was same issues there.
Yeah.
So, maybe there isn't a solution. Maybe the solution they'll tell us is you have to keep doing all these measures to hold it back, or just move the road because it's in the wrong place. And
Well,
that's not gonna happen,
Back when I was
so.
highway foreman in the 70s, if you go up the top of that hill, beyond to the east of there, and where it goes around there, there's blacktop in that road up there 3 feet deep,
Really?
where that bank kept sliding.
Well,
Wow, okay.
yeah, so we'll definitely be keeping you updated on that, as each step goes through. And, hopefully we'll get an answer pretty soon.
Yeah.
Or at least the right direction and get that moving.
Okay.
We had roadside mowing, Terry says it's complete. They're out doing a few patches here and there, but for the most part, it's complete.
I had an assignment to look for somebody to bush hog the cap,
Yes.
but what we have is a bush hog. It just mounts off to the side. There's no reason. In fact, it's even a better because you aren't driving over it. A normal bush hog, you drive over it, and the bush hog is behind you. That is a bush hog that they have, and there's no reason they can't mow the cap with that.
I'll check, yeah, the one we have out here.
Yeah, the bush hog is just set off to the side, that's
Yeah.
all. And it's even a better way to do it.
I'll check that with Terry.
If he doesn't think so, then we'll go back to looking for a bush hogger, okay?
Okay.
But-
All right.
That is a bush hog
Okay.
that he's running.
Yeah, well, if that
That's
works,
the
then let's
drag
get the
drag
cap
clutch
loaded
was the
in.
problem with that though, right?
Yeah, but you never stop with it,
Once
it's
you
not
get
like
going.
you gotta stop for mailboxes and
Yeah,
culverts.
for there you shouldn't be, you should be
Yep,
good.
it's just a straight run, okay?
Okay, yeah, I'll mention that to Terry.
Is there anything that we need to discuss relative to tractors and mowers, and are we just
As far
going
as-
along with the borrowed mower right now?
Yeah, that was the original intent with the borrowed mower right now. Terry had mentioned that when they did the cap last year or something, they had borrowed something else from North Bennington, or maybe it was this he was talking about. But he can do the cap, and I'll mention this to him.
Yeah, I meant in terms of the roadside mowing.
Right now, it's done, and we have no progress on a new tractor or anything like that.
Okay.
We'll make do with what we have for now. Bob mentioned earlier about some culverts up in Shaftsbury, how all they are doing the ditching and things, and we will try and get there. And Bob, where specifically, again, are we on Shaftsbury Hollow?
When you go out Shaftsbury Hollow Road, the first one is a guy's got a old lawnmower, lawnmower with his mailbox on it. That one, and then the next one as you're heading in towards the end of Shaftsbury Hollow Road,
Shaftsbury Hollow, not Granger Hollow, Shaftsbury Hollow.
Shaftsbury Hollow.
The old lawnmower on the mailbox is Shaftsbury Hollow,
Yeah, he's got that mailbox
Okay.
mounted on the old,
and the culvert's by that?
yeah, there's a culvert, goes, because the guy's got his driveway there, it goes up it.
Oh, driveway, okay.
And same with the next one, there's a culvert there for the driveway,
Okay,
and
it's a
that's
driveway.
building up with branches and leaves.
Is that right up from the old lawnmower?
Yeah, the next one up.
Next one up? Okay, because I was talking with Terry about that and with ditching, but we were a little confused about exactly which ones you were talking about. Because we had the story of the one by the burnt-out house, I think, last time, too.
Yeah, that, where it was, not up both songs.
Okay.
Both songs live, but back down out,
Back then,
on the
okay.
right-hand side there.
Right-hand side, you're going up the
Yeah.
hollow?
As you're going up in on the right-hand side, that house, you go past the hideaway,
Yeah,
you got that curve, you go up around, you got the first house, that guy that's got a bad back, got a little dog that sounds like a tiger. The next place
Okay.
on the right, burned. Well, right across from there are these 2 driveways.
Oh, okay.
In that area right
I
there.
think the burned confused us a little bit. Okay. All right, we'll start with the old lawnmower as the mailbox, and the next one up, and these are the driveway culverts. Okay. All right, we'll take care of that. I think that's about it for
All right,
the roads.
good. Truck financing?
Truck financing, we have 2 people who are sending us bids. It was in the paper. We contacted Tax Exempt Municipal Leasing Corp. And Community Leasing, who we've done business with before. And it's on the, I forget the name of this thing. It's the state webpage for municipal bidding. So it's been posted on there. It's not due to the 26th, and we should be able to deal with that at the September 8th meeting.
Okay.
Because it'll be pretty straightforward. These are the bids, and, you know, which ones do we want to go with? I did look at your question and talked it over with Bill. We are doing what's called a lease purchase, and because that comes out of current operational money rather than borrowing, it doesn't have to be voted that way. But there would be, if we were doing this for capital improvements or machinery purchases, the straight purchase, we would either have to do it at the town meeting for a floor vote or by Australian ballot. But we're doing a lease purchase, so we can do it this way, because it's an operational cost, it's not borrowing.
So what you're saying is that we really can't go to a bank and ask them for what they would lend us the money for, because it would be over a period of 5 to 7 years, and that would call for a town-wide vote?
Yeah, actually, it would probably even come up under less than that, because if the improvements or assets are to be financed for a term of 5 years or less, they shall be approved by the voters at an annual or special meeting duly warned for the purpose. And if it's more than 5 years, the question shall be held at a duly warned annual or special meeting by Australian ballot. So what's done, and what's done by most towns for an operational point of view too, is to finance it out of the operational expenses. The drawback, of course, is that if it isn't approved, they take the piece of equipment back. But it is kind of the standard way that these
Okay.
things are financed.
Are you satisfied? I'm not sure I understood the distinction.
Well,
of
it's just, that it bothers me that we're leasing, okay? The business of leasing is more of a business decision because you can write it off and that sort of stuff. And the leasing company's making money on this. I mean, they aren't doing it for free. And so I asked some bankers, what would you loan the town of Shaftsbury money for $160,000? But the problem is, they would set it up over 5 years, and we would have to go to the townspeople for a town-wide vote to approve borrowing money for 5 years to pay off $160,000. Right now, we're paying off $160,000 over but a year at a time. And so that's the difference. And I've always wondered would have been cheaper if we borrowed the money, but the point is that isn't an option unless we do a lot of finagling.
So this financing is a lease,
It's a
technically.
lease, that's
Lease.
right.
Lease purchase.
It's a lease
Lease
purchase.
purchase.
Yes.
Which is very,
Gives us more flexibility.
which is very common for businesses, because, you write off the whole thing, you don't have to write the depreciation and all that sort of stuff. It's a business decision, but that's not, in the eyes of the town, we don't have depreciation. We don't worry about taxes and all that sort of stuff. So it's just bothered me, why are we leasing? Because these leasing companies are making money on it as a bank. And I'm saying, which is cheaper, the leasing or the bank? But the problem is, we don't have a choice right now because of the way the law reads.
It's pretty much the same, isn't it? I mean, at least.
No, I'm just kind of curious as to how much, because that's what you asked, Kenny, is
Yeah.
how much are we paying in interest?
Well, right now, we've
Well, what's the
got,
percentage on the lease?
Well, it's
Well-
kind of technical. I mean, there's a
Yeah,
lot,
there's as you see when we get them all in too, and I
Yes.
wouldn't want to talk about anything
but,
before we have these bids, but yeah, there's always, obviously, they're making money.
yes. But
The interest rates depend, and there's,
with the town having a perfect credit rating, I mean, you've got, besides that, they got the collateral of the equipment. I'm willing to bet that the bank would loan us money for 2.5%. You know what I'm saying? And I'm wondering what the leasing company percentage is when you calculate it all out, because you've got all the payments right along, and then you've got maybe a purchase at the end. So when you accumulate all that together, how much did you really pay for $160,000? That would be the
well, it's
interesting.
just like the first year I was on the board. They went out in one night, they spent $250,000 for that excavator out there and that new one-ton truck.
Yeah.
And that's all on a lease purchase. Right now, we've got, with this new truck, it's gonna be over $1 million in lease purchases.
probably very close to that, yeah,
It is.
yeah,
And, it used to be, you'd have a sinking fund
That's right.
yes.
for your town equipment, and there was no interest on that. You were making interest on it.
Well, yeah.
Well, yeah, and then other towns do it that way, they put money aside in a reserve
If you go
fund.
back now, you're gonna
buying
have to,
equipment.
you're gonna be in a hole.
We would have to turn completely around here.
Right.
And it would take planning because, you're right, but we would have to plan and have everything set to make sure that it was warned and on town, ready for town meeting day
Right.
every year. And that would take,
Years.
yeah, it would take planning from now to get to that point in a few years
Right,
to get the rotation of all these vehicles correct.
right.
It's something that can be done, but to switch from this method to another one would be difficult.
We do have
And the way it is this way, the voters don't really get
funds for these.
a vote on that equipment out there.
No, they don't, no.
We do
They're
have-
voting on,
We do have reserve funds for these equipment purchases that we use to pay the lease payments.
yes.
I mean, it's not like we aren't putting away money to buy these vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
These,
Yeah, but they're not putting away enough so that you don't have any interest payments.
That would require, to start that, so that you could go out and write a check for 160,000.
Yeah.
We would have to start socking away a lot of money to break this cycle.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
that's right.
Yeah,
Well, that's all a decision we'll have to make at budget times.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's something we ought to keep in our minds and
Yes.
think about getting back to that when we go through this next budget season. Because recall, this all came about in a time of, since 2008, when the economy essentially collapsed and
Everybody wanted
interest
better.
rates went very low. And so in order to, not raise taxes, it seemed like we could, borrow for next to nothing. And so we got out of the habit of setting that money aside
Right.
Yep.
in order to keep taxes down for the town during those really tough economic times. And so now we don't have those reserves because we didn't keep the taxes up to keep those reserves in place.
the reserves cover the lease, so now, I mean, instead of just reserving it and then building it up for this, we reserve enough out of the budget to pay for the lease payments.
Yeah, they cover the payments.
Right. But
Because
if
the
we've got
payment-
ahead,
Pay me now or
that-
pay me later, it's the same.
But
Same
no, it's
money.
not the same because you've got the interest in there.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
because what
difference
you're
is if
saying
we
is
save that up in a sinking
putting it in the
fund,
back
we
and
save that
collecting
interest.
Yeah. Right.
As opposed to paying that interest. When interest rates were, 1%, it wasn't a big deal, but they're getting up in the 4 or 5% range now, so
Yeah.
it's probably something to reevaluate.
And when we do get a few bids in on this, and I bring them back on the 8th, you'll have a pretty, and what you'll see is what Art's talking about undoubtedly. If we look into the 6th and 7th year, that's a pretty sizable payment that, when you total it up, the interest we pay is going to be big.
Okay. Item 9, the Glanovsky property, just a status update. That is progressing. I have talked to Kevin O'Toole, the attorney who's handling it, and he has the information from the McGuire's. Background, you recall, is A property on North Road came up in tax sale. Nobody bid on it, so the town bid on it. I bid on behalf of the town, just the amount that was owed in back taxes, so that we get our back taxes. After the tax sale, on a butter named McGuire's said they would like to have that property. We were happy to give it to them because we're not in the real estate business. We're not allowed to make a profit in real estate. We're just there to recover our taxes. So we would just as soon have the McGuire's pay us our taxes and let them take a chance on that property, the Glanovsky property. The chance that they're taking is that they don't own it for a year. They bid it, they put their money aside.
Yeah.
It's not their money anymore. And they hope that they get to buy it. But the people who owe the taxes have a year to come up with the taxes and the penalties associated with, and they get it all back. So, but as far as assigning that over to the McGuires, that is progressing and should be something that we can check off the list in the next meeting or two. Item 10, Snowmobile Ordinance. Our game warden, Travis Buttle, is here, and I've invited him to come up and give us some perspective on this. The background here is that the local snowmobile club came to us a week ago, 2 weeks ago, a meeting ago or 2 meetings ago, yeah, and said they would like permission to drive on the unplowed shoulders of the roads in order to get from their homes to the vast trail system. We said, yeah, that seems like an okay thing, as long as we have that authority being to do that. And in the motion we made, we made a clause that said, yes, you have that permission unless we find out we need a town ordinance to do that. We do need a town ordinance to do that. So just as a kind of a bookkeeping error and to maintain a written record, I would like to make a motion that we indicate that our motion approving snowmobiles on the unplowed portion of the road is not valid because that does require a town ordinance to do that.
If they're more than 5 feet, if they're less than 5 feet or come out on the road for any.
Can I get a second and we'll get into that discussion? Do I have a second for a motion to state that the motion we made before is invalid because we need an ordinance?
My discussion was.
Okay, I'll second, but Travis, do they?
The point of it is, our motion that we made saying the snowmobilers have permission to drive on the unplowed portion of the roads is more complicated than us just making a motion. Okay. If we do something relative to snowmobiles on roads, whatever we do requires a town ordinance because there are state statutes that govern that right now. And so we can't make any changes relative to snowmobiles on roads with a motion. And I just want to have that in the record.
I second it.
Any more discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's just, okay, that's just so that people who only read the minutes will know that we passed a motion and then we rescinded that motion. Welcome, Travis. Oh, no, we do this all the time.
Mind if I sit?
Please do.
Much more, I'd rather not, okay.
And so, what we're here about is I called up Travis when this came up. His name came up when I talked to the snowmobilers as somebody that has cautioned them about driving on roads. And so I wanted to let him know what we were talking about, and he had some concerns about it. In particular, there are state statutes that govern snowmobiles on roads, and as the state statutes read right now, you can't drive snowmobiles on roads unless you are on the unplowed portion of the road plus 5 feet. You cannot get within 5 feet of the plowed portion of the road, except to cross the road, and there are a lot of specifics about how they cross the road at 90 degrees, come to a complete stop, yield right away to all traffic and such as that. What Travis and I couldn't seem to agree on the other night is whether or not, as it stands now, the snowmobilers have permission to drive on the roads, on the unplowed portion of the roads, as long as they stay 5 feet from the plowed portion, without the select board doing anything else. And so we seem to not agree on that. And that was the first thing I was hoping that we could
Yeah.
agree on whether or not that is the case.
The biggest thing we were talking about is land ownership and how wide the roads are. And I don't know off the top of my head what each road in the town of Shaftsbury has as far as its legal, right-of-ways and all those things. I mean, there are 3-rod roads, there's 2-rod roads, there are some roads that, like, and just using Pownell, for example, that the town doesn't actually own at all as far as the property. They have a right-of-way that goes through it. So to have this 5 feet off of the plowed portion of the road statute apply, as far as the legal standpoint for us, if we're enforcing it, the ownership has to be on the town. So you could have the plowed portion, say the ridge of my book, as here, that's where the ridge is. As long as you've got, at least 5 feet from the ridge of snow that the town still owns, that's fine. But in the cases where the plowed ridge of snow is also the town edge of the road, or it's not a complete embankment, then you're encroaching private property. And I don't believe the select board or the town has the authority to say, go ahead and ride on this person's property, That was where our concern was. I wasn't explaining it real well the other night. So that would be my concern on those things. And I don't want to jump ahead. I've got, a lot of other things to share, but I want to make sure we stay in the order of what you guys are looking for.
So I think we're saying, yes, the state statutes do allow them to drive 5 feet off the plowed portion. The question is, can they get anywhere doing that without getting onto somebody else's property or coming to where there's a tree in that part and they have to drive onto the road or somebody's private property in order to actually get where they want to go?
Right.
Okay, I think we agree then.
Yep. Anything else? Like I said, I don't want to jump ahead because, you guys may have other questions regarding other things that came in.
We would need to get the Snowmobile Club back in here, and I've had some trouble getting in contact with them. But I guess the anticipating what might come up is what if we, the select board, said, figured out where it is they have problems. I know it was mentioned the underpass on 7A on East Road, that frequently the entire underpass is plowed, so to travel along East Road, which is one of the roads that they requested, they can't stay unplowed plus 5 feet. They have to come into the road or go onto private property.
Right.
What would be the implication of us giving specific spots that allow them onto the road just long enough to get around obstructions?
Well, that's where my best recommendation is that the statutes also give you guys the authority to open certain town roads or sections of town roads for snowmobile use. And in the same idea with the ATV clubs is you're either giving them a conduit to connect areas that they're already legal to ride on, or you're creating a conduit to connect those areas. And if they can connect those areas, then that's a benefit for both the snowmobile club and for the town, and it makes it enforceable on our side, on the law enforcement side. East Road, yeah, at that place where the underpass under 7, that makes complete sense. Or the other part that law enforcement has is we all have discretion too. I mean, if there's a tree down and someone has to go out into the road to go around a tree, as long as they're legally going from one spot to another, I can't say no one out there would, jam somebody up with that or, cite them or ticket them, but, that's where officer discretion comes into play. It's reasonable, and that's the other thing that we're always bestowed upon, or, we have to express is reasonableness. But there are other roads that you and I had discussed that I think would be good to consider to open for at least partial snowmobile use, again, connecting certain sections of the area. But it's going to also have to be tied in with the validating process that the club has too. I mean, like other towns like Woodford, they have a specific town or a specific map that lays out what are snowmobile trails within that town. The vast snowmobile trail map is all the trails statewide. Part of being able to operate on the road, you have to be registered, and registration includes a TMA, which is the Trail Maintenance Assessment sticker, which shows that you are a member of VAST. If you are a member of VAST, then riding the trail system, that gives you that written permission that's otherwise required. So if I wanted to go ride in your fields, Art, I have to have written permission from you to be able to ride in your fields, okay? If you get into an agreement with the Shaftsbury snow pilots or whatever, I think they're still snow pilots, or VAST, your written agreement, then my trail maintenance agreement pass is my written permission because Art has made an
I was going to
agreement.
ask you if you can make a blanket thing for,
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
you could if you wanted
Yes.
to. Private property owner can open up his area as long as it's signed to do so. And that's another one of those requirements, or, sections. So the only thing the way it's supposed to work, is VAST is a club, is supposed to work with the towns and the private property owners, just like you're gonna ask permission to go hunt on somebody's property. It's a respect thing. And I mean, what I've seen over the time that I've been here in the area is, big snowfall comes, everybody wants to get out on the roads because they're easy and fast to ride on. Well, it's illegal no matter what. But there are certain areas that I have experienced over time where there is a good connection areas to open and be considered to open. I mean, the Tunic is one example. It would connect West Mountain, but you'd have to have a network of trails on West Mountain that the club is maintaining before you open up a section of area that's going to promote illegal activity. That's what I would just caution on. And the nice part about it is you guys have the authority to open up whatever roads you want to open up, and work with the club as long as the club's willing to do the work in return. So.
Most of the roads we were talking about were conduits to the vast trail for the majority of people on the east side of 7A.
Right.
I mean, the west side of 7A, it's all private property, there's no vast trails over there.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean that West Mountain,
It doesn't
some
get
sections,
used.
couldn't get opened if a viable, responsible club, and I'm not saying that the pilots aren't, but if a viable, responsible club was to get in there and work with the landowners up there, I'm sure you could have a small snowmobile area. The other part, I was trying to find it, I can't find it right now, but no section of of Route 7, which is a limited access highway, is allowed to be ridden on. So opening up the section by East Road, even though we've been riding on it forever, you go up East Road a little ways towards the end of where Trumbull Mountain comes in. That's where I see the most heavy traffic. Then they ride across someone's field, which, that's not technically open either. They follow the power line a little bit over until they get to a cut in the highway fence. And then they drop down across the highway, go over Route 7 to the end of Glastonbury Road. They hit Glastonbury Road and then go on up into the trail system from there. There's a stack of about 8 different violations that go on, that folks are doing that with. And I cannot remember his name, the gentleman that approached you to go the other way, underneath Route 7 and East Road near Holy Smoke Road.
Batessi?
Yeah, it sounds right. He was doing it 100% correct last year when I got to chat with him. That's why we had a great conversation and said, hey, have fun, take off, and I went my other way. That would be a great conduit to open up. But farther up the road, 3 miles, near Bear Run Road is where, that's going to promote, illegal activity. But nobody's been run over on Route 7 yet. But the laws are the laws, and so.
So it would definitely be good to open up that spot, that underpass.
Yeah,
on Route 7, because that's one area, they're not supposed to be on 7. There's fences all the way on both sides of
Right,
that.
right, correct. And I mean, I would be happy to be a conduit between the club and you guys too, just to make sure everything's going through. I know the benefit of living here is I know the area pretty darn well, and a lot of the landowners. I know a couple landowners that have told me in the past, if someone would approach me, I would give them permission as far as talking about the club. And I'm like, well, that's a bonus. Well, that's 1. Let's see if we can get 2 and 3 and 7, connect those all together and we're golden. So, but it all takes work.
So it sounds like there are trespasses occurring to get to the vast trail system right now that haven't been properly permissioned by the local club. Is that your opinion?
Yeah, as far as I know. I haven't honestly met anybody from the club except for when Mr. Martinka was selling the Shaftsbury Snow Pilot stickers, but I was like, all right, where's the club trails?
But you've gotten complaints from people who say snowmobilers are on my land without permission.
Yeah, yeah. And it's stuff you see when you're driving around on patrol too, and I've had, people riding up and down the road and things like that, but that happens every town.
Mm-hmm.
Not, minimalizing it, but it happens everywhere, every time.
Yeah, but you don't know their club members necessarily.
Doesn't make a difference if they're a club member or not, if they're on the highway or on the roadway.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying that the ones that's complained to you, you don't know if these people, the individuals that are breaking the law, are
Yeah.
club members or whatever.
No, and it wouldn't make a difference.
No, I understand that, but,
And, not saying that the club members are the ones doing it either.
right.
Most of the times, the trails that I see towards the middle of the winter are all making a pathway towards Glastonbury so
Yeah.
I can ride from the house and go. And,
Right.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
So it sounds like what we need to do is talk to the snow pilots, find out specifically where they want to get from and to, find out if there are obstacles, and think about ordinances that deal with the specific obstacles rather than opening up large stretches of the road. Opening up the road where there are obstacles so that they can, by and large, according to state statutes, travel 5 feet from the plowed portion. Where that's not possible, allow them onto the road for just long enough to get around obstructions.
Yep. And the other part that goes with that too is it has to be signed as open to snowmobile traffic. So if you,
Yes.
where it starts and where it ends, just so you guys are covering your bases.
Is the club itself responsible for signage, and like you have the brochure there from Woodford?
You can, in your agreement, you can make them be responsible for signage. When I worked with the town of Pownell opening up ATV roads or roads open for ATV use, the town took on that responsibility of signing it. And I think right now they are working really closely with the local ATV club, and they've taken that over, but I'm not 100% sure on that. It's been a few years.
My inclination would be for us to handle the signage, to just make sure it gets done right, because that's kind of important.
Yeah, it's that relationship. I wouldn't just give anything just carte blanche. If they're willing, if they want it, they can work for it, and vice versa. It's a benefit for both sides. Just my suggestion.
So we've got to put the ordinance down to entrance on east side of, or west side of East Road at such and such a place, driving north on East Road and for half mile up, and then turning off, and that would be part of the ordinance, or can you be a little more vague, or does it have to be that specific?
You could, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but just from my experience, I'd say you could, word it in such that, travel on the town highways of Shaftsbury is open in the designated areas. It's like, kind of like a no passing zone or a passing
Or
zone.
where signs are posted?
Where signs are permitting it, It can be that simple, but, as soon as somebody comes by and cuts a sign down, then.
Yeah, for like East Road, you'd have to be very specific about where it's gonna go from, because it's just so long, and
Yeah,
connect as
East Road.
Trumbull, Potter, Montgomery, and all that. You'd have to narrow it down some.
Yeah.
Is that if they were using it for connectors from Trumbull and Cedar Mill and all that, it would be a limited area where they could go in.
Maybe we should engage Jim Henderson for an overlay map or something that we could maybe put in the town.
That would be,
Reporter.
yeah, I mean, they can make, again, going back to what the club can do, if they are proposing, they want conduit to the main VAST system, then I would think they would also, you guys would want to require that they provide for you the permission of the property owners that they're crossing too, you know?
And for the
those
most
agreements.
part, they said they had permissions. I mean, we didn't see it, but they,
Right, you know, trust but verify. That's- So, yeah, like I said, I'd be happy to help in any way I can, and I do support snowmobile clubs in doing what they do too, just to make that clear. There's a bunch of great people out there that do it, and there's just like in the hunting world, there's some of them that ruin it for everybody, so.
Yeah, well, we want to support that too. We don't want to be the town that doesn't support VAST, so let's do what we can, but let's make it specific and do it right, and we just have a little more homework to do, it sounds like.
Have you reached out to VAST themselves yet? To see, I mean, they've got folks that are experts in the field of helping write ordinances that work, stuff that's been tried and true and not.
No, we have not.
No, we have not done that.
I think I've got a
them
few
get a hold of
extras of
that.
these. You can, all their information's right here. You can have it.
I did, after we talked, went to the VAST website, and I didn't immediately find a lot of helpful information. So it probably takes some talking to someone.
Yeah, definitely. Because honestly, on a layman's and a user's point, I mean, we draw in thousands and thousands of people to use, and they go to the VAST website for what are trail conditions like, what club can I join, how can I make this simple and fast so I can go get wet on the snow, on the trails. They don't want to know what town did a great job with making it, accessible for who. But,
can I keep?
yeah, by all means.
I will be talking to Brian probably on Saturday. He's supposed to be back, and I can have them, I can tell them to get a hold of the VAST coordinators, what was that, trail coordinators, conduit coordinators or
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, I would call either the vice president or the president, or, the secretary would be able to get them right into the
There.
best person to talk to. There's, regional trail coordinators, there's a statewide trail coordinator.
Brian LaCroix?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's going to be back from Florida, I think, on Friday.
Yeah. Well, we need to let the snow pilots know that we haven't been able to help them yet, and that we've got some work to do in terms of pinning down exactly where they.
4 months.
It's amazing how fast it will go by.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, in the end, we'll be rushing to get our 3 hearings in to get the ordinance passed, I'm sure. Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the input. Town Administrator's Report.
Okay. Covered a lot of it earlier with the roads, because that is the main thing going on right now. Just an update on our sidewalk project that's been going on for a long time, and it isn't slated for construction until next year anyway. We're in the last part of the right-of-way permissions with John Lavarge. It's just paperwork right now. It's on track, everything is on track, but I think there was a little confusion over when that's going to start. It originally wasn't tracked to begin until next May, the actual physical construction, which I don't think is a reasonable date anyway, because we still have 5 weeks of school left. So it would be more like starting, hopefully having the contract in place to start immediately after the end of school. So hopefully it'll be done before school starts. Any other time frame I don't think really works to have contractors in the middle of pretty much the only school crossing we have in town,
Right.
so.
Well, we're gonna have all of that settled for sure this time, because originally our hope was to have that done this summer, and then the paperwork got to the state and didn't get any further.
Yeah.
We have had movement on the paperwork with the state, I take it.
Yeah, it appears to be on track. There were issues that I'm not completely clear on, and not having been here that long, with something to do with right-of-ways and utility lines and things like that, but as far as I understand now, and we'll just be moving ahead, I think between now and next summer, we have ample time to get everything finished up. And these are the things, when this originally was charted out from a few years back to construction next summer, they're done like that because these things always come up. Something always goes amiss. You know, it could be, well, still, it's a long time before next summer to get these last things done, so I don't see that as a problem. But I wouldn't, if we got delayed another 5 weeks from the projected start date, that would be good for us, because May's not a good time to be building the sidewalk over there. So, but I think that would pretty much be on track.
Okay.
The other thing we need to do is the hazard mitigation plan. I want to put that on the next, every agenda we have coming up, including the special meeting. I want to get a copy of the latest version that's been put out for discussion. We just finished this in Sunderland. The model that's being used here is from our plan. To get this through FEMA public, they really want to know when this is before the public. So I want to have it on as many of our agendas as we can. This has to be completed by October to get our full funding. If it's not under the ERAF program, if there's 4 parts you need to have, if this isn't done, we would be down, I think, 12.5% in funding because we don't have this one part done. And it can't be in process, it has to be submitted. So I've been talking to Mike Batcher, and we're going to see Bill Pennebaker at another meeting tomorrow night, and Jerry, and I think we're pretty much set, but it's just something we're going to have to get at each meeting if someone comes in to comment on it, but it'd be pretty critical if something came up to have this on file.
Didn't Jerry have a hazard mitigation plan on file of the town?
This is the brand new one. We have a new one. And this is the July 8th version, which still has to be modified somewhat. This comes right from BCRC. I'm very familiar with this, and it just needs to be, we have to have meetings scheduled. Most of the work, the nuts and bolts are done. I talked to Mike, it will be a little bit of a problem, but we can tweak this enough by October. And depending on the public input, we can get this submitted. And it does turn out to be a potential disaster. It is a lot of money to lose. So we want to get in. It's the last part. It's the last part. The LEOP is in and other things Jerry's done. I'm not sure how much went on with this beforehand. I'm just picking it up right from here. Mike called me and asked what was going to go on with this. And he's willing to put in the time, so I think we need to push this through and just have the conversations about it. And I'll get a copy, as best we can. It's quite long, but we'll get it on the website for people to read the draft.
Yeah, well, we need to get it to us, the selectmen, so we can.
Yeah,
take a look at
I
it.
just got this off today, so, yeah, get it to everybody so you can look at it. It's not final, but it'll give you a general idea of what's going on with it. And actually, frankly, I covered everything else earlier
Okay,
with the paving, so that's really all I have.
all right, other business.
Dave, I got a question on,
Yes,
maybe you're not even familiar with it. There's a large culvert in Shaftsbury Hollow
yes.
that they were checking on about, is there anything from the state on that?
That was not, and nothing was actually filed on that. There was a possibility of getting grants, but that wouldn't be till next year to work on that.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a huge culvert.
Oh, it's huge, yeah. Terry and I have talked about it. I've seen the pictures, the proposals.
It's a big multi-plate.
Yeah,
That's been in there since the 60s.
yeah. I pulled that out and looked at it, but it has to go back a step because we'd have to find the funding for that and everything. But yeah, that is a big culvert.
Yeah,
That's
and
gonna be-
Margie said that they wanted to make it bigger.
Yeah, they do want to make it bigger. But the hydrology test they did and the report they did says it has
No,
to be
yeah,
built.
but it lived through Irene.
Yeah, I know, but it's, again, a lot of this is to prevent things in the future, and if this is what the hydrologist says has to go in, it's pretty much what has to go in.
They're paying for it, it's fine.
Yeah, it's a lot of these things, post Irene to try and
Yeah,
get things changed to prevent, and that did hold up.
yeah.
But it has some problems that they just say needs to be fixed, and it's gonna be expensive.
Well, yeah, the bottom's rusted
The
out.
bottom's gone, yeah.
Yeah.
I know, because we had talked about, with Terry, could we put us like a sleeve in, basically, and rebuild it that way without having to take things apart, but they have this
Yeah.
whole, I don't know if you've seen, if you stop in, I'll show you, they have pictures of all the things they wanna put in, and it's gonna be,
They're figuring they're precast concrete,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it's gonna be a project.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna be a project. And that won't even be available to talk about till next year, and I believe East Road is on the agenda for next year too.
Yeah.
Because that was turned down really last year or something.
Whereabouts is that culvert located?
I'd have to go down and look. I don't have good enough knowledge of Shaftsbury Hollow Road to tell you exactly where that is.
Yeah,
Just
I've been
Ken, you
there, but I
probably
wouldn't be
do.
able to describe it
Just
to you.
beyond
Yeah.
Commons is
About a mile up off of the Four Corner intersection down by Buplin Corners,
it before or after Clemens' old house?
right next to it.
Right next to Clemens's. It's a big one. It's a major brook that comes down through there.
Okay, you don't mean up by Dwyer's Camp there?
Oh, no, no.
Hollow Hideaway,
Hollow
Oh, okay,
Yes, Hollow
that big
Hideaway.
one right there.
okay.
But we have cleared all the hurdles in terms of knowing what we need to do there. The question is, how do we pay for it and
Yeah.
proceed to take care of it?
Yeah, it appears to me the recommendations have all been made. I actually pulled it out and checked with, there was some hazard mitigation money that they still had, but that they closed out already, to see if maybe we could look that way, but it's too late for that. So we'll go the regular route and see what happens, or there might be more hazard mitigation money coming around, which is important why you have this plan in place, so that you can address these things.
The way Terry explained to me, one of the big hurdles is that you can't shut the road down for that long at a time, so they gotta build a bridge, and the
Yeah.
bridge is gonna be quite a, you have to have a permit to build a temporary bridge and all that sort of stuff. It just goes on and on and
Yeah,
on.
because the way they're talking about it, it's not like, you're gonna dig out underneath and replace all this stuff. You'd have to put a temporary bridge over here.
Maybe the state has Bailey bridges.
Well, that's what I mean.
Sometimes.
Yeah, they'd have to lay one across, build a road to it, take this whole thing apart, replace it, rip up the Valley Bridge or whatever bridge
Yeah.
they use. Yeah, it's a production.
Oh, that will be.
So we'll see where that goes and what funding's available to do that. And then in times of, these things being cut back at different levels of government coming down to us, we'll see where we hit on the priority list. I mean, there's no guarantee that could be this year or next year or 2017. We depend a lot on this kind of funding. And
That culvert's 10 or 12 feet high.
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, then you have to look, as the state will, to it, at prioritizing these things from what is
Of
a
course, that's
hazard.
way over, there's only a dozen houses beyond that.
And is it in any imminent danger? No. You look over at something like Brownells, where you kind of like, what is
Yeah.
going on here? And that's where I would be putting my money first, And the state will look at that the same way, hopefully. And they'll see it that way.
Other business? Dave and I attended the BCRC SWIP meeting at Arlington last week. They're gonna be trying to get the household hazardous waste events from 2 events in 2015 to 3 in 2016 to 4, and by 4 by 2018. They want us to form some sort of an alliance for this universal recycling, and there's templates and checklists we have to do, and see if we can get see if we can come up with an agreement on a name to call our alliance, the Shires SWIP or whatever, something. But he was gonna give us some information, get some information back to us on the difference between an alliance and a waste district.
Yeah.
And what the difference is, pros and cons of each type of, basically, they call them solid waste management entities, SWMEs. And we gotta come up with a name for what Arlington, Sunderland, Pownell, Bennington, Shaftsbury, Manchester, all the different towns that are in this current SWIP are. And it's gotta be done by next, September, doesn't it?
Yeah, next September. And one of the questions was the format.
Not next month.
Yeah, no, not next month. No, it'll take longer, because one of the questions was, if you have a district, you have like district governors and people then who are operating above the town level, and it kind of removes the town from
Yeah, that was one of the cons. of
direct
having it.
control, which is why the alliance was setting better with a lot of the people who were at the meeting, because the town would still have its representative right there, instead of, you'd have a board that had independent authority that would be running the solid waste district. That works good in a major area, like, if you're talking Burlington or something like that, but, I know around here,
We were leaning toward the
problems.
alliance. We were leaning, everyone.
Yeah, everybody was
alliance
leaning for the
better,
alliance.
But he was gonna show us, explain the difference of
Yeah.
Bennington, he said point blank, would really rather have a district. Takes
Yeah.
more, separate entity, they don't have to, the town management doesn't have to deal with that. That's different than us, we don't have that much, and it costs more to have the district. And they
Does
can
cost
set, they can set their prices independently of the towns, the elected officials and so forth, and, so there was a lot of, I'm not sure all the pros and cons of each type of, SWME.
Yeah, in our fancy name. But they were gonna have someone come and representing both sides
Yes.
at the next meeting
Yes.
and give out the pros and cons, and so that the represented towns could move or recommend back to the boards which direction to head in.
And they were recommended a member of the select board be part of the alliance, if you're gonna go that way. Just an update, that's all.
So right now, we have all signed on, or various towns have signed on to a SWIP, Solid Waste Implementation Plan. But we need some sort of governing body to manage the SWIP, is that essentially it?
That's basically it, that's an SWME, SME, or
So
SWME.
but yeah, because it's getting more complicated as more things have to be broken out of the stream. There's composting, there's just so many different things now will have to come up.
There'll be alliances, we'll have to do educationals.
Yes.
This alliance will
Yes.
have to do educationals, make sure you pull the stickers off your fruits, and, this education, the municipalities, and they separate properly, and
There's a whole outreach
it's-
program that
it's
has
a
to be
pretty-
done
pretty involved.
to fit the law, which part of the alliance we would actually have to hire someone to do education and outreach.
Now, didn't they have something over here at Shaftsbury Elementary where they separate their organics now?
Yeah, they compost over there, yeah.
It goes wherever, to TAM?
Tam,
Yep.
yeah.
So, it's like, it's happening here in this town, pretty much. With the school we don't have a lot of hospitals or restaurants or anything, so we don't have to worry about that, but those are all part of the different members of SWIP's alliance group would have to spearhead and educate and so forth. So it's interesting.
Okay.
I don't know all the ins and outs about it by any, one meeting is just coming fast and furious, that's all I know.
Yeah, it's gonna be several meetings before we can iron out all this. And this new law has lots of things that all the towns have to be compliant with in stages over the next 4 to 6 years.
Yeah, they broke it down into variable priced, or no, what was the term? The unit-based pricing. And basically, what the state is trying to do is to try to develop metrics to know that once this law goes into effect, you're seeing the positive effect of it. They want to know how much solid waste every town produces, how much recycles. And based on your per unit pricing, either a bag, your 90-gallon drum, from a recyclable person picking up. They want to know what they want a baseline to start with, which we thought that Casella and Tam could provide for most of the towns that they service. And he seemed to think that might be something he could do.
Yeah, and they're concerned about small independent carters who will skew the results. How we're all going to address this, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then an out-of-state carter who might make the loop in from like down Wright Creek, take a few houses and then disappear, but then it comes into the Vermont stream in a couple of years. It'll again skew all the data. So I don't know exactly how
Yeah,
we're going to develop a plan to come up with all this information.
There are a few New York State
Haulers that
come into Vermont and take it out. So, I mean, if all of a sudden they leave the business and this comes back in Vermont, all of a sudden you get a spike in solid waste again.
Yeah.
And it's just trying to put some metrics around it. I mean, doing the best they can do, I guess.
Yeah, it's going to take a bit of effort and a bit of time.
The more complicated they make it, the more they find over the bank.
That's why we have stickers on.
Yeah. Okay. I can take you up in Glastonbury and show you some dump sites. Because they made it so complicated.
Yeah.
To me, the easier they make it, the more compliance you're gonna get.
Yeah, well, we're stuck with what's come down from
I know.
Montpelier, and we have to try and make this work. And it is going to have complications. And if I can take an aside for a minute, because that just made me remember that the scale at the landfill is broken again. And Art, could you send me the name from Albany? Because I don't want to call these people again. It costs too much.
The second time they came didn't work?
No, it worked for like a week and a half. And Shelley called me, I guess it was Thursday was the last afternoon they were open. She goes, the thing's just going haywire. It was measuring in all different directions and then just stopped completely again. And I was like, well, it'll be a couple of days because, we're not going to go up to, I wanted to call them and say, well, what's going on? But I'm sure they're going to say it's $450. We'll come down and look at it, and that's
I
ridiculous.
promised you that, and I'll get it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get a new scale. I mean, I've been on the board less than a year. It's broken 3 times since I've been here.
Yeah.
And it costs $450 for travel plus whatever it costs to fix it every time.
And it's just
I mean,
weighing,
$2 batteries.
it's weighing bags of garbage within 6-pound radius.
Yeah.
A scale with a weight on it.
Just, I'm happy if Shelley just goes, yeah, that's a dollar.
Well, this all goes back to the whole unit-based pricing. And how a bag of $2, and that's 20 pounds. And
Yeah.
that's what they want to get down to, the nitty, which, it's a grand idea. I'm not sure how practical it's going to be.
Yeah, but even the scale up there, it's just, it's not like it has to be that scientific.
Yeah.
It's just weigh the bag. It's around 6 or it's, put a sticker on it, or if it's closer to 12, put 2 stickers on it,
Right. Other business. Let me mention something I went to the other night. It was a little talk from people associated with the state that were doing generating a grant program, and it struck my fancy just because I have had this kind of idea at the end of Rollin Road on Coal Spring Road, right? It's really at Coal Spring and Coulter. There is a spring, Coal Spring, that generates water that makes Coal Spring Brook. And there's a fair amount of history associated with Coal Spring. It's been a town water supply for a number of people for a number of years. And even today, people like Art Whitman get their water from Coal Spring. Back in the day, it was such prized water that the people at Park McCullough had a pipe built from the headwaters of Coal Spring over a beautiful stone bridge on my property, built just to carry this water pipe to Park McCullough, so they could get this really fine water. And I always thought, wouldn't it be nice if we had something there that kind of invoked the history and looked nice and was a place where you could walk by and stop and get a drink on your bike or on foot. And this grant program is really aimed at exactly this kind of thing. It's called animating infrastructure, and the idea is to things that you're going to build them in a pretty way, in a nice way. And also one of the main criteria of the grant is to invoke the history of the site. It's not a huge amount of grant money. The grants are expected to be from $1,000 to $15,000. But if it were something the select board were interested in pursuing, I'd be willing to make the initial grant to this art and infrastructure program. We'd need to probably look at another major grant to help with the building of whatever it is we decide to do there.
Bathhouse.
A bathhouse, perhaps.
Damn cold.
Perhaps, but we would also have to be prepared as a town and a board to, contribute ourselves some amount of money to it. But if it's something that we would be interested in doing, I'd be interested in seeing how far we can pursue it.
Would it be purchasing that property from the current landowner? Obviously, it's on someone's property right now.
Well, that would be one of the first things we'd have to talk to the neighbors there and see. I did get as far as looking in the deed, and the deed for that property does say that maintaining that water system is something they have to allow to do. Ideally, we would want them to be on board with a project like that, and I would think it would beautify the neighborhood and be something they would like. I think it also might be within the right-of-way of the road, which would allow us access to it too, because it's right beside the road. So I suspect that's a small hurdle, but that would be one of the many things that we'd have to pursue if we wanted to go that way.
Be interesting. I mean, if it's in the deed of the current property owner that it's to be maintained for public use, then I mean it is public use. I mean, at that point, after so many years. Sense to me.
But I'm not, looking for anything formal now. But if this is something we think we might like to pursue and be willing to budget some money for in the future, when the time came for us to pony up our part, I'll see what this grant application involves and look at what other grants might be available to fund part of it. But I think it would be a nice thing to take something which right now looks, like a ditch with cement blocks around it, and turn it into a landmark that, bikers and walkers would, include on, when they're in the neighborhood. Okay. Action items tonight that I caught. David's going to pursue the supposedly blocked creek blocked culvert in Shaftsbury Hollow. And also you're going to talk to Terry and see if we have the equipment to mow the landfill cap, and if so, mow it. We have some work to do on the Snowmobile Ordinance. I guess I will take lead on that and talk to the snow pilots and see what it is specifically that they're wanting from us, and pursue putting together a town ordinance there. Just a reminder that we all have to get this hazard mitigation plan in place by...
We really need to have it by the beginning of October.
So we got a month.
Yeah,
basically.
we'll do it.
Over a month, yeah.
We'll do it. Public hearings.
Oh, no,
that's
2 months.
That's a critical part.
Beginning of October, yeah.
Yeah. We might be able to slide it into mid-October, but as long as we can get a couple of public hearings in, the rest of it, I'm pretty sure Mike and I can work out.
Yeah,
And
that's
get Jerry
important.
on board, and it's a good chunk of coin.
It's important because, the big culvert in Shaftsbury Hollow that we're talking about could
Yeah.
very likely get funding relative to
Yeah.
FEMA, and if we don't have that plan, we
Yep.
don't get it all.
Yep, it has to be in place.
And then just kind of another back burner item is the SWIP Alliance, that we have to keep pursuing those meetings and then take the steps necessary to put that alliance together by next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think I asked this question at the meeting, is like, but who is in charge? Is it like each town, or does the town designate like me or David to be the SWIP Alliance, and then they go and meet and start working on their draft plans? It's still being flushed out, actually. It's
Still have to convince some members that we want to have an alliance and not a district. And there might be a town or two that would like a district.
that'll be hashed out.
There's a lot to go through.
And BCRC is kind of leading us by the hand on this, right?
Well, BCRC really is kind of pointing us in the direction and kicking us. They
Really?
don't want to be the alliance for the SWIP.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like, okay, this is what you guys got to do, because we don't want to, they don't want
Towns
to.
have always run the SWIPs, and although who's ever BCRC designates Michael right now, but the towns have always run the alliances. So it is an active role. The BCRC is stepping up here because there's a big transition going with these new laws that are changing everything. But at the end of the day, it's the towns are going to run this, which is why some towns, not necessarily here, but some towns want to have the district, because then the district is a functioning organization who focuses solely on this. And we'll know more about that when the reps from each side.
The next meeting, I think.
Come in and explain the pros and cons of each one. And there definitely are pros and cons to each one.
Okay. And one other thing I just remembered is you're going to help us get a new scale, because
Yeah, I think, I don't see why we just don't buy a platform scale with a balance beam on it.
That's what I think. That's what I think. All you're doing is,
Okay.
just slide it over, 12 pounds, okay, $2.
Put it
Yeah.
on 20 if it tips the scale.
The electronics is just asking for more problems. The thing sits outside year-round. I mean, it's undercover, but it doesn't have to be electronic. It just needs to work.
I do have one other thing. The planning commission is short a member. Have we been advertising for that? We have to post an post an opening and accept applications? Is that the way that works?
Letters of interest.
Yeah, letters of interest.
okay.
It's been posted since the last meeting at our regular 4 places.
Okay,
It was on the website, on the front page on the right,
Good
until
enough.
we
I just-
found out that it disappeared. I asked her to put it back to get rid of the dog license area today. Tim and I were talking this morning.
Okay,
We
okay.
put it up there, but it's not quite the way I wanted it. I looked at it before I came up here.
okay,
so-
I just wanted to make sure it was
Yeah.
posted. 'cause-
Word of mouth, anybody who knows anyone who wants to be on the planning commission, we really do need that 5th member.
Okay,
And also, next Monday, the 25th, right? We're having a
Yes.
public comment on the final public comment for the town plan. So if
Yes.
anyone's out there watching, if you want to say anything, make it, come on down.
thank you. Yeah, we needed to announce that.
Yeah, it
absolutely,
needs to be here, and because we plan on voting at the first meeting in September, whether to accept it or send it back, and I'm assuming we'll say
I don't know
accept
that we
it.
can't vote next,
I think you can vote next week.
after the
I'll
hearing
check,
is
but
over, assuming that nothing major has changed in it,
Yeah.
we could vote then.
so that's the 25th, right?
25th.
25th.
Yeah, a week from today.
And that too has been, that's been in the banner because it's statutory and it's been warned everywhere.
Yeah, I've seen that, I saw it. It needs to be said out loud.
Mhm.
Not a regular
Yes,
meeting.
thank you. And just so we're on the same page, my thinking is if, we get like typos during the meeting, we change them and then we're done. We vote then and get this thing done.
Okay.
Major changes, of course, that's a different matter, but I'm hoping that that's not necessary. All right, I move we adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
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 It's always the quickest.